Good evening and welcome into the UMass Gives Show. We are in day one of our two-day UMass Giving Drive, and we welcome you in with an evening with Athletic Director Ryan Bamford. And throughout the broadcast tonight, we're going to keep you updated as to where the giving levels are after just half a day. And we'll also take you through a tour of what your giving has meant to this university, this department, and the student athletes that call Amherst home. I'm Jay Burnham alongside the aforementioned Athletic Director Ryan Bamford. And Ryan, good news here. We've got this trophy in between us as we talk throughout today. Happy UMass Gives Day.
Thank you. What a great open to watch all the success of our student athletes and to culminate with men's soccer learning that they were going to get the NCAA nod a couple weeks ago, and then obviously Jake Gaudette holding this big boy here, this national championship trophy, and already off to a great start. Over 1,000 donors already today, and about 226,000 in donations as of broadcast start tonight. Awesome momentum.
We're going to talk with some student athletes here. We'll hear from national champion head coach Greg Carville, and we'll talk about what this means in terms of UMass Gives and where the funds go and how you guys have been able to use them over the past 5-6 seasons. Let's give a brief kind of overview here of why these 2 days are so important for the department.
Well, I'll tell you, we talk about the power of philanthropy all the time. You can't do a lot in a Division I athletics department without people investing in the experience of our student athletes and their success in the classroom, in competition. The ways that our student athletes give back to the community as great citizens, it's awesome when they get rewarded with gifts that enhance their experience. And for us, the power of philanthropy means we're going to go through facilities tonight, all the ways that we've been able to generate interest in our program around facility development, and then just all the things that mean to be at a championship caliber athletic program, and our supporters doing that for us day in and day out.
Now, this has been a real focal point for you in your tenure here, and we can kind of take a look back and see how UMass Gives in this program has been able to grow year to year. I know last year was a little bit of an exception. We had the Flagship Forward campaign in the summer, but this is something that your department, your staff has really been able to develop into an annual thing that really generates a lot of success for this program.
Well, I will say our coaches do a great job. Our Minutemen Club staff, Dave Biancamano and his group, do amazing work to cultivate people, to get them engaged, to really focus on really stewardship and making sure people feel connected to our program. Obviously, the drive back to 2016, I mean, just raising over $10,000. I think we did that in 5 minutes earlier today. And you can see the steady escalation here. And our goal is to get to 2,500 donors this year. We didn't put a dollar goal on it just because we wanted real engagement, true organic engagement, already at 226,000 in gifts. And I think we have a real shot to get to maybe $500,000. We did over $600,000 at Flagship Forward back in August. We didn't do UMass Gives because of the pandemic last year, but boy, have people stepped up. And we've had one of our best fundraising years. People who care about this place, that bleed maroon, they have come and they have supported us. It's been awesome.
And you can see there the goal being, hey, it's not necessarily about the amount of money, it's the participation. Can we get 2,500 people that love this university, that want to help these programs get to where we all want them to be? And so no donation, $5 isn't too small, $500, right, whatever you can. Certainly looking forward to everybody getting in and getting on the wagon. And as you've seen this past year, we'll talk about the athletic success in a little bit, that there's a lot of room for these programs to go, and a lot of programs have had tons of success. That's on the field. Off the field, in the classroom, let's start here. This has been a focal point for you in your tenure here. Can you give us a little overview as to how the student athletes here on campus have been so successful in the classroom?
Well, when you're in a renowned public research university, and that's what drew me to this place, and having been at Yale and Georgia Tech, I wanted to be at a place that really cared about the academic mission for our student athletes. And we recruit some of the best and brightest to this institution, and that is shown in the fact that we have more Atlantic 10 honor roll members every year than any of our peers. The fact that we have more Dean's List, our Dean's List is rising every year. Our GPA amongst our student athletes is around a 3.2 collectively amongst 650 student athletes. The reality is that they're going to go on and do great things when they leave this institution. If we don't pour ourselves into them from an academic standpoint, I know our faculty do that, our academic advisors in the academic success unit do that. That's where the power is in this experience, is making sure that they're set up for success in life. And we certainly hope that wins and championships come along with that. We got to take care of business in the classroom, and that's what probably I'm most proud of with our student athletes.
Yeah, it's interesting, from my vantage point, interviewing the student athletes here and recognizing just how high character most of these kids are. And you hear the coaching staffs talk about, we want the right kids to come into UMass. We want these high character kids. And you'll hear from a few of them in just a moment, but they've really been able to achieve that in bringing those types of talented players, both not only on the field, but also in the classroom.
I've never beat the drum more than we have in the last month about Greg Carville's group, right? I mean, we win a national championship, but Greg Carville's group, highest team GPA on campus the last 2 years, done more community service than any team in our department. There's a real realness to that translates into success on the ice, and that comes from the top. And I'm so proud of our coaches. They do recruit the right student athletes, develop them in the right ways, give them a great experience. And when you do that and you have success in the classroom and you're a good citizen, boy, it takes care of itself in practice and in competition.
Well, we mentioned that we will be hearing from some of these student athletes where your giving has directly impacted their experience here on campus. And we will go into that now with track and field and another one of the bright students that we were just talking about, in Abby Collins.
I originally came to UMass. I'm a sports management major, and they have a really great sports management program. And then when I took my official visit here and met the track team, I immediately felt like I had a family here. Winning the championships was just kind of like a full circle moment for me, and I think for my whole team. It was surreal. We literally we found out we were all just screaming and chanting, and we met in the middle of the track, and we're just doing the UMass cheer with our coach, because our coach was actually leaving after that season. So it was really nice to be able to celebrate that with her as well. It was really great to go out with that. And of course, a couple months later, everything got shut down with the pandemic. So it was nice to have that championship. It's been really nice having all of our meets at home. Usually we're traveling every weekend. It takes a lot, and it takes a toll on your body, just bus rides, 3-hour bus rides here and there. So it's been really nice, kind of that home field advantage, having that every weekend. We haven't been able to compete with those schools in the A10 yet this season, so it's going to be nice to see all those teams and be down in Virginia with the nice weather and just competing on the high level. I'm really excited for that, and I think my entire team is too. Donations and support from the fans and alumni have really helped us. The spring break trip 2 years ago now, donated by Anya Martin. It was really amazing having that opportunity, just sending a bunch of the women down to Florida to be able to train again in the nice weather, and just having that bonding experience was honestly the best part for us, I think. We just got really close and we're just able to compete and train for a week, which is really nice. Even just having things like this lounge is so nice. If you're running to practice and you gotta go to class, you can come in here and log on to Zoom. It's been so nice having this space, especially it being right near the cage. It's just nice to be able to have that area to just study and just have a quiet space when you need it. I just want to say thank you so much to anyone who has supported UMass women's track and field. Clearly it's just helped us so much in terms of bonding, training, and competitive development. So yeah, thank you very much.
And to Abby, we say thank you. You could hear her saying thank you to all the donors that have given to the program over the years. And we say thank you to her for an outstanding career and sitting down and doing that piece. And Ryan, we've got cell phones up here. We're doing texting and getting all the information in as the donations roll in. And you've got a little bit of breaking news when it comes to the track and field world.
Well, I told one of our alums in track and field, a male track and field alum, that we were going to have Abby on. And Abby's so impressive. If we take 650 Abby Collins in our athletic department, we'd be really successful. He just texted me and apparently was cued by the Abby Collins video and said, I want to give $15,000 as a match to the university, to our track and field men's and women's programs. For anybody that gives us $100 or more in a gift, he will match it up to $15,000. So if you're watching right now, or even it's all the way through tomorrow.
Yep.
So we have a $15,000 match for any gift of $100 or more to men's or women's track and field and cross country.
That's great.
Jim Hunt. Thanks to Jim Hunt
Jim
for
and Ellen,
that.
yeah, for sure. Thank you guys, and we'll get that information out on the social media channels as well. And you can go to the website umassathletics.com/give and see the individual goals that these programs have, all 21 programs here at UMass, what they're trying to achieve with the money and where the donor numbers are as this thing is rolling through live. Now, academic success, great. I think that's something that you need to have. The fans really want to see the athletic success.
Of course.
And it's been quite an array of athletic success since you've taken over here in the past 6 seasons.
Yeah, we've been fortunate. You know, I obviously when I got here in 2015, we have a number of our sports that have been successful across our 21 sport offerings. We've actually had, at last count, we've had 11 of our 21 win a regular season or a tournament championship in 6 years.
11 of 21.
11 of 21. So over half of our sports have done that, which is awesome. And I'm really extremely proud. Obviously, we had a national championship in men's hockey. We'll always love
that. Never gets old, by the way.
Yeah, never gets old. But you know, honestly, probably some of our most proudest traditions are on the women's side in our Olympic sports on the women's side, and we've had a number. I think 7 of the 11 are on the women's side, and we've almost had a women's soccer championship and went to the tournament championship in women's basketball this year. Had a great run there. So. A lot of momentum building across our 21 sports, and it's not just there's depth there. There's a lot of depth.
Yeah, obviously, when you look at what's going on right now, as the world has shuffled and changed, and some of the sports that were supposed to be played in the fall are being played in the spring, and now you've got soccer going to the tournament. You've got women's lacrosse just steamrolling competition.
Right.
They've been very impressive to watch. And you mentioned women's basketball, which, let's be honest, for a long time had been a tough road here at UMass. When you see the transformation that a program like that has made, what are some of the steps that had to be put in place to get it to where it was this year?
Yeah, you know, I think it's institutional investment. I think hiring Coach Verdi certainly triggered us on a path of success. He's recruited at a high level, developed the women in our program, not only on the court, but bringing the right women into the classroom as well. And you know, for us, it's now developed so much that people we have more people attending games, more people giving to our basketball fundraising efforts on the women's side. And what that's meant for us is philanthropy has generated an opportunity for them to go on a foreign tour 2 years ago. Yep. We try to do that every 4 years in men's and women's basketball. For them to be able to have program enhancements, nutrition, training tables, other things that really allow us to not only give our student athletes a great experience, but also recruit at a high level. We are now running a program in women's basketball that can compete with Power 5 institutions for recruits and on the court.
And I think a lot of those things that go into place kind of behind the scenes, you're talking about student mental health, you're talking about nutrition, training, you know, from 30 years ago to today, the world has changed. Like, what needs to go into a championship caliber program has changed completely.
And you know, that's the investment that we see in our support systems of adding academic success folks, adding sports medicine professionals, adding strength and conditioning professionals, adding a sports psychologist this year, which has been just tremendous for us. The ways that we support our young people is allow us to play at a championship level, and we're going to continue to do that. Those investments don't end now, but when we get people that invest in us, that give us money, that invest time and energy, come and buy tickets, come to games, even those that aren't ticketed events, but be there for our student athletes. It's amazing the potential that this place has. I saw it when I came here, and now we're just scraping the surface of how good we can be, and we're starting to really realize at a high level how much success we can have at the university.
We're going to take you through a tour of all the physical plant upgrades, facility enhancements that have taken place over the last 6 seasons here with Athletic Director Ryan Bamford. We're going to be joined by a now world-renowned hockey coach and Greg Carville. He'll talk about his success in winning the national championship this season. But, you know, we mentioned lacrosse moments ago. Women's lacrosse has had a ton of success. Greg Canella's crew, the Gorillas on the men's side, have as well. And when it comes to giving, I don't think anybody quite gives like the Laxbackers and the men's lacrosse supporters, and we've got Billy Philpott, who's been around for quite some time, to join us here on the UMass Gives Show to talk about the impact that they have had on this program.
When I think about last year, truthfully, it starts from the beginning, I'd say in January, and we kind of had a team that was growing. And that's kind of the point I think we hit there, you know, Ohio State, Albany, Yale, LIU. And when Utah came to town, it was that abrupt stop, and it was tough for us because we felt that we were kind of hitting our stride there. You kind of, you know, you build that brotherhood, it starts becoming a little bit more serious between guys. Guys can understand their roles a little bit. So when it ends like that, it was very shocking for us and very hard. So we did our best to kind of stay in contact throughout the summer and moving forward. But yeah, for sure, it was one of those things where we felt we were growing and going in the right direction, so to have a stop, we were pretty devastated. It has been a crazy spring for us. You know, a lot of ups and downs, but that feeling of walking out in Garber, truthfully, probably only alumni fully understand exactly that feeling of what we felt. And when you haven't done it, I think it was 366 days for us. We haven't done it in that long against another opponent where you all get to wear the same color. It was emotions that are hard to describe. It was really special to kind of look into teammates' eyes and understand how much it meant to everyone. And that was definitely a day that I'll never forget for sure. Truthfully, it's again hard to put into words how much, again, this facility means to us here at the Foot Academic Center. You know, being able to come into Boyden and have it be that one-stop shop for everything. You do your homework, you hang in the lounge with teammates, go to the locker room, treatment, everything. Has been great to have these facilities upgraded and a place for us to kind of grow more as a team and bond together and even connect with other athletes as well, kind of creating that 21 sports, one family atmosphere. I truthfully almost view Laxbackers as an extension of the team. And especially this fall, we did some Laxbacker talks where instead of the money donations, that they donated their knowledge, their wealth, and all that other stuff to talk with us. And that was fantastic for guys to learn from. But specifically for the field upgrades, you mentioned the scoreboard, the locker room. So again, they're kind of taking care of everything that's outside of our reach. So that on game day, we can just go up there and fly around, let the fur fly and have a great day. So we can't thank them enough for their support and kind of setting us up to have success on the field. I know a lot of Gorilla alumni don't like special shout outs, so I'll keep this as a collective group. But we can't thank you guys enough, truthfully. Like what you guys have meant to us, the support you've provided, whether it's locker room or everything else that we've mentioned. We truthfully can't thank you enough, and we look for your ongoing support as we move forward here.
What a career it's been for Billy Philpott, and thanks to him for taking the time to shoot that piece, Ryan. It's going to be weird thinking about UMass lacrosse without Billy Philpott on the team.
It was. I feel like we're going to be like exposed next year without Billy because he's been with us. Thankfully, he's been with us for so many years. But yeah, we're going to miss his leadership especially.
So as this piece is airing around 8 o'clock on day one of our UMass Gives, the Laxbackers, UMass Lacrosse, and their segment of UMass Gives is at 114 donations. Their target goal is 150, so they're well on their way.
They are one of the greatest groups of mobilizing around philanthropy and building. They've got an unbelievable community, obviously. It goes back to the days of Coach Garber and has carried all the way through to now Coach Cannella for 25 plus years. And it's been awesome to watch and to build relationships with those guys. They love the University of Massachusetts and our men's lacrosse program. I give them kudos every time I get to see them and talk about the power of their gift giving. And you saw in there what they do for professional development for the young men in our program. That's another level of us for building career opportunities that the Laxbackers do at a high level.
Yeah, what do I do when I'm done playing?
Yeah.
And how do
I give back?
Yeah. And with the hockey side of things, we're at 245 individual donations, set a target goal there, a lofty one of 400, and feeling pretty good about hopefully
when you win a piece of hardware like this, I think 400 seems maybe, I mean, it's ambitious, but I feel like we can get there. We've got another day ahead of us, and boy, making great progress so far.
All right, we're going to dive into all the improvements, or some of the improvements, as many as we can get to, that have been underway here over the past 5-6 seasons. And of course, all these improvements are a testament to everyone who's been able to give and who has helped over the past half decade. And we talked about academic success to start. We'll start in the Boyden building for those that remember their time here on campus and what it looked like years ago. It's completely different now, and it starts with a student athlete lounge. This has really been a special area for the student athletes to be able to focus.
Well, one of the things when I got to the university was Boyden was never referred to affectionately, and I said we have to change that. We have to change the experience that the people, and all of our student athletes come through Boyden because They either come through to see people in our academic success unit, to use our facilities, and in the central main hub and artery of the Boyden building, and you're seeing now graphics, pictures of our lobby area that we renovated 2 years ago, but is the lounge. And the lounge, for those that maybe were in Boyden years ago, probably remember it as a wrestling room, a bunch of wrestling mats. And one thing that we needed to do is we needed to brand the building better. We needed to really celebrate our success. You see all these championship photos that go down the hall. I mean, we've won so many championships, and this was, we thought, a really good way to represent it. You see the backdrop there. I don't know if you can make it out, but it's a map from the 1880s of old Massachusetts, of the colony, and we put that in. Here's the lounge now. This was the wrestling room. I think we had to put hazmat suits on to take all the wrestling mats out. I don't know the last time those were cleaned, but now, moving out of the lounge and into the Bob and Marianne Foote Academic Center. Bob, our first All-American in football, and his wife Marianne. Education and academics at UMass meant a lot to Bob in his career. Had a highly successful career as an entrepreneur and gave back to the university. Has given back a number of times. But this is near and dear to Bob and Marianne. And this was a complete renovation of our academic enhancement space, and it's been a game changer for us and for our student athletes. Here you're seeing the erg room in Boyden. Great mobilization by our rowing alums, women's rowers who came through and wanted to create championship opportunities for the women that came after them doing the erg room. Of course, our natatorium, where our men's and women's swimming and diving teams practice and compete. Did new diving blocks in there 3 or 4 years ago. And then we move outside, and we've got a number of facility upgrades that we've tried to tackle in the last 5 years. Notably, the Garber Field scoreboard. This was, for our men's and women's lacrosse programs that are nationally ranked, we felt like in order to keep pace, to stay up with the arms race, we needed to continue to develop Garber. Did a great renovation to our grandstand a number of years ago. Obviously, brand new turf 3 years ago, and now with this scoreboard, we're going to continue to invest. It doesn't ever end.
All 3 of those philanthropy generated by the lacrosse
all
programs.
built through philanthropy. Yeah. No state money, no general operating funds, all through philanthropy based on men's and women's lacrosse giving, which is powerful.
So clearly, when you kind of looked at the slate, when you came in here, you said, look, we need Boyden to not be a 4-letter word. This needs to be someplace that people want to be. And as someone who's relatively new to the scene, it floors me from seeing it 3 years ago when I first stepped foot in there to what it is like after that rebrand, with just the colors that pop at you, the feeling that you get like you're in a modern facility.
Right.
And having all of that kind of energy in the building with the lounge and the academics, it truly is special. So, that's something, and we'll get to kind of what the plans are down the road at the end of this to see exactly where we go from here, but a truly kind of remodel for that place.
I will give credit to my predecessors who built up, we're sitting here in the press box in football. This was new when I got here. The Football Performance Center was about a year old when I arrived. Shortly after I got here, 6 months, we opened the Champion Center through John Kennedy's powerful gift. We're in the Martin Jacobson facilities here in football. And so you tackled a couple of big projects. And so it was easy for us to say, you know what? It's central to our success is going to be to build up Boyden. Boyden's not going anywhere, and we needed to make sure that not only the people that were there, coaches, athletes, and staff that were using it every day, but a lot of our staff and athletes were going through there at different times of the day. We absolutely needed to upgrade it. We haven't completed all of those upgrades yet, but we're getting close. We're getting there.
Well, let's move on to another building,
Yeah.
and one that a lot of folks probably haven't stepped foot in a decade or so, maybe more, is the Cage.
Yes.
And you've got more plans for this, and let's see exactly, what are some of the additions that have been made to this building?
So the Cage, people probably fondly remember the Cage as the venue that Dr. J played in, and then Coach Cal in the beginning part of his tenure, I think the first 3 or 4 years that he was at the university, they played games in the Cage, and obviously then moved into the Mullen Center. And so since the early 90s when we moved into the Mullins Center, the cage has predominantly been, before the Champion Center, basketball practices. A lot of our other teams before we built indoor facilities were able to practice in the cage. And then now it's essentially become a track and field cross country venue and for practices. We want to now make it solely for those 6 programs, cross country, men's and women's track and field. Very fortunate that a piece of the cage, we built the lounge 2 years ago. Peter and Denise Bloom, Peter was a runner here, allowed us to build through philanthropy a lounge that our student athletes in track and field cross country use every day. That was the beginning stages of saying, we need to remodel this, we need to invest in this. We're gonna in our next campaign here over the next year or two, really try to hit the mark to raise $3 to $5 million to renovate the cage, make it a practice facility that our student athletes in those 6 sports can prepare themselves for competition. Right now we go over to Smith College, which is great, but we want something here on campus where a student athlete can come over at 8 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, noon, whenever they're not in classes, get into the lounge and do their academic work, be able to see each other. Our locker rooms are there. We renovated those 3 years ago, and now that space really it's needed to take us to the next level.
So Boyden, cage, check. And then one I think that a lot of people still feel is a new building is the Mullins Center. You know, like growing up, people still refer to it as, oh yeah, you got this new facility. The mid-90s, not exactly new anymore. So there's upgrades that have been needed to be made there, and it's one about the student athlete experience, but also the fan experience when you talk about the Mullins Center. So what are some of the key components that have been in your sight or have been completed at the Mullins?
Yeah, when I arrived, Mullins Center is one of the largest venues in the country that didn't have a center-hung scoreboard. And I know that's like, people scratch their heads sometimes, and I walked in there and I was like, all these banners are awesome, but like, you're sitting there and you are watching the action on the ice or on the court. You have to look hard to your right or hard to your left to get any visual of a replay, and you might miss something. So I was like, you know what? We have to really think about investing here in a center hung, making sure that we have the video boards on either end. We do stat boards so people can see what our student athletes are doing and what our teams are doing, what the stats look like. So that center hung scoreboard, all of the technology in the Mullins Center. We invested heavily in fiber cabling, making sure that we were getting all of our, having the ability to stream games. So that was a big investment there. Obviously, all the branding now that we've done in the last 3 or 4 years to the practice facility for hockey. Adding that national finalist banner was pretty awesome 2 years ago, and now we're fabricating a national championship one to go in there as well. And then this, right off of the practice facility for hockey, we took over some racquetball courts that weren't often being used, and we made it into a strength and conditioning center for our hockey program. Our tennis and baseball programs also use this facility, but this came through the power of philanthropy as well. This was about a $750,000 project that we completed in about 7 months. So it's been an absolute game changer. Obviously, when you start to win in hockey, you have to keep it at a high level. And now that we've had this success, it's awesome to celebrate it with branding, with the proper branding, to give this program the kudos it deserves over the last especially 3 years. And so now you started to see the branding of Cale Makar's Hobie Baker win, our national championship runner-up. Jake McLaughlin right there beating BC in the final seconds in 2019. This theater that we did for hockey. We have, when we do, and I think we're going to get to the hockey locker room project here shortly, when we get done with our physical plant in hockey, it'll be one of the, if not the best, one of the best, probably top 5 at least, best facilities in the country. Which means, our goal of keeping UMass hockey at a high level with Greg Carville's leadership, there's no reason why we can't do that.
And we'll hear from head coach Greg Carville in just a little bit. Some other notes there. You mentioned the Champion Center. There's the new court that was put down a few years ago with the Massachusetts silhouette outline in the court. And then Legacy Hall, which I don't think a lot of people have been able to see yet in the Champion Center.
So all this branding we did, Jay, and it was the pandemic hits, and we're like, we really wanted to show everybody. So we promised that we will have give people an opportunity to to see some of the changes that we've made. I think people obviously have seen this court that we did 2 years ago now. This is our second season playing. You can see it. You can see it this year on streaming. But put the Power U obviously in the middle, but having in stain the outline of the state, of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, as the flagship of this Commonwealth, we have a lot of pride in that state outline. So we thought it was apropos to put it in the middle of the court there in a sublimated way. This is the Legacy Hall. This is in the Champion Center. This will be open to the public at some point when this pandemic subsides. We're obviously celebrating our successes in men's and women's basketball. There's Coach Cal, Sue Peters, one of our all-stars in the women's side. And this is something for us in recruiting, but just to talk about our history. And then some of the other branding elements that we did in the Champion Center. You know, when we win, you have to, we can't get to where we want to go if you don't know where you came from. Yeah. Celebrating all those successes that came before us, instrumental to us going to where we want to go. All of these pieces were donor driven because people believed in telling our story. So powerful.
Yeah, that Legacy Hall really is a game changer, and hopefully fans will be able to
They'll
see
be
it.
in there, I
Donors will be able to
promise.
see it,
I promise.
In the near future. All right, so now into probably what is the most competitive space in all of college athletics is football, right? And this has been a long road to try and get this program to where everyone wants it to be. And it starts with the giving and it starts with the philanthropy. And this building that we're sitting in, you know, right here, you referenced that a few moments ago. The practice bubble has been a huge asset, not only for football, by the way, but for all the sports that are able to utilize that. Soccer was playing in there. So what are some of the football components that really have been a key target for you to accomplish?
Well, I think in the last 2 years since Coach Bell's gotten here, you know, obviously we had a great football performance center, the Jacobson Performance Center. Marty Jacobson, who's just a wonderful alum and really understands what giving can do to change a culture, gave us another gift of just over $5 million to help us build this indoor facility. And, you know, in the Northeast, you always worry about putting up a facility like this, an air-supported structure. But it has been an absolute game changer the last 2 winters, and especially in the pandemic, has been awesome. And then we've renovated now, just even though it's only 6 years old, our football performance center. We've gone in, we've put a nutrition center, you just saw, in the weight room. We've done some new things, new equipment, turf facility in the weight room. And then this scoreboard. Dave and Paul Manganero gave us a lead gift to build this video board, which has been awesome for us in the end zone. Again, we've celebrated our successes in football with that end zone sort of facade down there. And then stepping in, this is really where I think we've taken the next step in the last three or 4 months, is we finished out now all of the branding in the Football Performance Center, where now we have young men coming through there, recruits. Obviously the players in our program see the history, see how important it is to be academically minded, to give back to the community, to be focused on winning championships and now going to bowl games. And I will say that we've had 2 of our best fundraising years in the last 2 in football, because people believe in what Coach Bell's doing, even in the absence of some wins right now. Yeah. We've had 2 of our best years because we're selling people on where we're going to go, not where we've been, but where we're going to go. And we want to get back to the championship years of '98 and when we went to the championship in 2006. And we went to bowl games in the early 70s and the semifinal, or the national championship game in '78. And all of these pieces, when you're trying to recruit at a high level, you have to continue to refresh your brand and refresh the buildings and the spaces that you're living in every day. And that's what we did now 6 years in to the Football Performance Center. We went back in and we've spent another $500,000 doing that.
And you might have to add to that branding if Larnell Coleman hopefully gets drafted over the weekend here, the NFL draft, and that would be 3 consecutive years with a Minuteman going in the NFL draft, which would be awesome.
Awesome, and I got to give Larnell credit.
Yeah.
His stock has gone up because he's a hard worker. Hoping he goes in the next couple days. kind of picked this UMass Gives tonight. We're opposite the draft. I think people might be toggling back and forth, hopefully. But
they can catch it on Facebook the next day, all right?
Unless the Patriots made a trade, I think they're sitting a little bit later this evening.
All right, final piece here before we get to what's coming up is, a lot of people see the shiny object of football and basketball, but, putting effort into the scoreboards here on campus at Rudd and Sortino Field and these elements that are an integral part as to the giving program and trying to develop all of the programs here on campus.
Well, that's it. Like, there are a lot of institutions across this country that invest in certain programs. We have done something for every program in our 21 sport offering. That was very important to us. We want to create equity. We want all of our student athletes to feel like their experience matters. So doing things, building the Gladchuck Field for field hockey 5 years ago, an artificial turf surface there that's just for field hockey, state-of-the-art facility for them. I know that that's a game changer for Barb Weinberg and her staff. And then, doing the softball facility, the softball scoreboard this past August, really important. We've had a tremendous amount of success in softball in our history. And we need to continue to invest. I can't say it enough. And the people that have done it for us, the people that have come, that have been part of this, been part of our team. I talk all the time when we win championships about it takes a village. We didn't win this championship just because of those men in the locker room. They did a lion's share of the work, but there's so many people that surrounded them in this community that put their arms around them that said, we're going to go do this. Let's do it together. And when we win, everybody wins, and this university wins. And so continuing to invest at a high level is important for us, and I'm really proud of the efforts that we've had thus far.
Great segue into the hockey locker room, by the way, because I think some folks have seen this by now, but this is the next big project that really completes the upgrades for the hockey program, and that's this locker room project that's going to be state-of-the-art and keep the hockey facilities at the level that they're at.
I give Coach Carville and his staff a lot of credit because we could have pulled the trigger and just taken our current footprint and redone our locker room facility, and it would have been about a $300,000 or $400,000 project, and we could have done that quickly 3 or 4 years ago. But Greg said, you know what? Let's really knock it out of the park. I've seen some other facilities. If we want to compete at a high level, let's do this the right way. I give him credit. We really thought through this in an imaginative way based on our footprint, and it is going to $2 million project. We've raised almost about $1.8 million and change now, close to finishing up that. It's already underway. We're already into the renovation. It'll be completed by the end of August at the latest. And so our 2021-22 Minutemen will move into a new home as reigning national champs, and it's going to be an awesome place, not only for those guys to live and to get better every day, but for the next wave of Minutemen to come and to compete for a national championship and represent us in the maroon and white.
And before we get to head coach Greg Carville, there's some upgrades in store for Sortino Field too.
Yeah, so we're talking about really looking at Sortino Field, Rudd Field, and our track facility, and looking at that complex and potentially jumping into to a project that incorporates at some point turf at Sortino so that we can get out there, and there's a rendering of it now. Turf facility, adding lights, adding a new outfield fence. It's a great college softball facility with the university backdrop. So we've added the scoreboard now. Kind of the next 2 phases are the turf and the lights. And then, stepping on, there's the 3 facility rendering there, Rudd being in the middle. Try to probably keep that natural grass. That would be the goal. But to add lights there. We can't play games in the late fall starting after 3 o'clock. So we want to be able to do that. Adding grandstands to both soccer and track. Adding a press box that can be shared amongst those 2 facilities. And again, you see that in track there, making sure that when people come to our track meets, they don't have to sit on the fence line and watch. They can be up in the grandstand, cheer on our men and women. It will be, I think, a real change the face of that entire facility and really kind of be more welcoming and inviting as a spectator. And those are some programs that have now really started to have a higher level of success, and we're excited to invest in that infrastructure as quickly as we can.
Yeah, it'll help the spectators both live and that are at home, because the press box, by the way,
Yeah, I know.
huge. All right, being able to actually enhance the streams that you watch for these games, definitely a big bonus going forward. So help us make that a reality. Help us continue to reinvest in our programs. UMassathletics.com/give. Well, I don't think there's been a more interviewed man in hockey over the last 3 weeks, other than head coach Greg Carvel. He is the reigning national champion hockey coach. He is the hockey coach of the year, and he was very pleasured, I think, to sit down with us as we wrangled him for another interview to talk about the run that hockey has had and the impact that UMass Gives has had on his program and his student athletes.
Watch out! Watch out! UMass are national champions!
What are some of the emotions that you've gone through these past 3 weeks?
The biggest feeling is pride, and pride in what we've done, what we've accomplished, understanding what it took. It was a lot of hard work. The turnaround of the program, it doesn't happen by chance. Losing the game wasn't acceptable. And if that's your mindset, there's no reason why you shouldn't win the whole thing. So I think when we won the whole thing, we were like, yeah, we haven't lost a game since January. Like, we're not supposed to lose. And that's pretty powerful when you can get to that mindset.
You went through a 2-week shutdown like everyone on campus did on February 7th. What was special? What made your culture help you guys get through that stretch?
The shutdown to me was more, it allowed us to refresh. And it allowed us to feel that fear of not being able to play on. And we came out of that shutdown. We beat Providence 8-1 on the road. And it was the same feeling that I felt the morning of the championship game. The kids were just ready to play. So the shutdown to me came at a good time. We've been practicing for 6 months or 7 months, however long it was. But there were many other times throughout the year that the strength of our culture was evident. And to me, it was the consistency all year long. We brought the same thing every game. And I think that's the strongest description of your culture, is how consistent you can be at a high standard.
Was there a message? If there was, what was it before the Duluth game and then before the championship game?
The message before Duluth was to believe that we've grown as a program in the 2 years since we played them. At times they were the dominant team, at times we were the dominant team. But it was much different than 2 years prior when they really controlled the tempo of the game. The message before the St. Cloud State was, you've earned this, earn it one more time.
Was there a moment that you can think of in that Minnesota Duluth game where that's when we changed the course of this game?
The biggest goal of the entire season was Anthony Delgaizo's tying goal in the third period.
Trevino in front. Trevino again tried to bank it in. It's sitting there. Shalapina save. Rebound, score!
It's bigger than the overtime goal, bigger than any other goal. Duluth was playing well, and we were, I don't want to say frustrated, but we were struggling to create offense. And we scored that goal. The way we scored most of our goals is we won battles around the net, and we scored on the back post. Once that goal was scored, I felt the ice started to tilt our way and then into overtime. I've never experienced anything as dominant as that in hockey.
Trevino trying to spin away from rail. Trevino wrap around in front, score! The wait is over. UMass to the title game for the second tournament in a row.
So the Delgaizos can fight over who's had the biggest goal in UMass program history. Tell me what that family, those guys have meant to the success of this program.
It's pretty clear to me that our senior class changed the culture of this program with how they conducted themselves away from the rink. But our junior class absolutely changed this program and how hard we compete. From the Delgado brothers, Colin Felix, Bobby Trevino, those kids are the heartbeat of our team on the ice. That's why Anthony and Mark have scored 2 of the biggest goals in the program's history. Bobby Trevino set up all the big goals. They are really competitive kids who you don't want to play against. And that whole junior class, they've been so instrumental in what we've done. They've been here 3 years. They played in 2 national championship games, and they may have played in a third if we didn't get shut down by the pandemic. And I give all the credit to how hard they compete.
For UMass Gives, you know, this has obviously been a team effort from the whole university to get to this point. How have donations from alumni and fans positively impacted things that you do for the hockey team on a day-to-day basis?
Fortunately, I've had that financial support to a new weight room, new video room. You know, we're having a new locker room coming now. These things are necessary. Like, our kids conduct themselves first class in everything they do. They deserve to have first class resources. We wouldn't have been able to do what we've done without significant financial support. And that doesn't just mean one-time big donations, it's all the little donations. You know, to me, that's an important part of a program, is to build that alumni base, not just the former players, but former UMass students. And we've always wanted to build a program that everybody could be proud of, that you could cheer for, that you could say, hey, that's my team, that's my school. And but you can't do it without financial support. Hope it feels good to send money to the hockey program, because you feel like you're getting your money's worth.
Tell me about the locker room. Do you have things that you're excited about, like in particular with the design, and you know, how is that specifically going to help you guys grow?
I'm excited. It's going to be cutting edge as far as technology in the room, what we're able to do on the board with the team. I'm excited that it has a nutrition center that we didn't have before. It has a recovery center that we didn't have before. It's going to allow our guys to, you know, after games, eat inside the locker room. We used to go out in the hall and put up tables, and it's just, it's the proper thing to do. It's all going to be first class. I've seen a number of the top programs, facilities, and I think this is going to be top, right at the top. So I'm excited. I'm excited for our kids, excited for our alumni. I'm excited to tour people through. It's going to be, you know, it's going to be NHL level, and that's what we try to do here. We try to do everything at the highest level, and it was the last thing we needed to address, and it's happening right now.
You mentioned the donors, no matter the size, very important. You've got a group of committed supporters in the Pond Club. Why should somebody join the Pond Club?
I think the alumni support is huge, but also the local community. And that's where the Pond Club gives you that avenue. It allows you to, you know, say, hey, put your mark in it. Hey, I'm in it. I'm on the wagon. I want to see that membership get to big, huge numbers. And I think, again, it's just another level of a successful hockey program. You have to have success on the ice, success in the classroom, but you have to have a big number of people who are saying, yeah, I want to be part of it, and the Pond Club provides that.
Big thanks to Coach Carville for taking the time. A busy man this time of year. Actually, as we were setting up for that interview, Ryan, he was talking with the folks about the rings that the team might potentially get. So I know there's a lot going on.
I
for
haven't
his
even
program.
heard about them.
Oh, maybe
I can
I'm
only imagine how big they're going to be. I love the trophy over his right shoulder. Have trophy will travel.
We're going to close with some questions that we've curated from the narrative that fans have chatted about on social media. But, you know, first we're going to give you an update as to where we are. This is approaching the end of day one for UMass Gibbs. It'll go all through tomorrow as well. The teams that have reached 50% so far as we went into that interview: baseball, hockey, men's lacrosse, and men's soccer, who you can catch on Sunday as they take on Penn State in the tournament on ESPN Plus. And get this, Ryan, over 1,050 gifts of our total 2,500 goal and $234,000 so far. Those
awesome.
are great numbers.
Awesome. And I think we'll make a big drive here tomorrow as well. And I feel good about exceeding 2,500. And, you know, every gift counts. We say it every time. $5, $25, $500, whatever you want to do. I put out on Twitter just a little while ago that I was going to match up to $500 to gifts to our women's programs. Eli Slovin, one of our great students and big supporters here, a local young man.
Quickly going down in UMass athletics lore as
he's tremendous.
Great fan, yeah.
He's tremendous. We wouldn't make him Sam the Minuteman because you can't talk as the mascot, so we always want Sloves out there marketing for us, but doing a great job on Twitter and hoping to get some more gifts, especially for our women's program, and really drive philanthropy there. They've not had a history of giving, and we want to make sure that our women's programs feel the power of this as well.
And in case you missed it earlier on this hour, Jim and Ellen Hunt are matching 150 donations of $100 or more to men and women's track and field. So we'll close things with some questions here for Ryan. And, you know, I think one of the things that we've heard a lot about is, you know, if a program isn't having a lot of success, you know, why should I give to that program? What is your response when you hear that, and how do you react to it?
My response is men's ice hockey 2015.
Yeah. Scoreboard.
And then 2016, we hire Greg. We win 5 games that next year. People gave because they believed in the vision, and look where we are now. We have programs that are in different life cycles here, and you know, whether they've won in the past and aren't winning now, or in the middle of it rebuilding, or are winning at a high level like hockey, you can invest and impact success. And it doesn't matter. It may be a program for us that wants to get to the middle of the pack and then needs more investment to get to the top of the pack. And so, you know, the opportunity to change the trajectory of a program or to keep that program at a high level is always going to exist. And so whether we've had success or we might be in a lean year or lean years, it's really important to continue to support us. Buying tickets, being philanthropic, investing in our young people. These are kids that work so hard day in and day out. And I realize that, you know, this is an appeal. I feel like, you know, we do this every year, and it's so powerful. And when we talk to our student athletes about when they leave, we're going to do this in 2 weeks. When our seniors graduate, we get them together for a reception, and we are going to talk about staying connected. We are going to talk about being part of this family well into the future. And we don't talk about giving. We just talk about staying connected and making sure that they at some point impact the people that come after them. And that's, I think, by and large, what our student-athlete alumni have done, and certainly our fans, even those that didn't go to this institution, that care about this place, have done. And I just implore people to continue to be philanthropic, to continue to invest in that experience.
And that's the word there, connected, right? So sometimes I'll get a random email from a fan who saw one of our games or watched a package, and they just send a note to say, hey, thank you guys for highlighting these student athletes. And that to me means the world, you know, just hearing from people that people are connected and they're paying attention, and they do have a special bond with this place. And I think it was definitely evident, and I'll close with this sort of question to you. When you saw the reaction with the hockey team pulled into campus and the amount of support that was here. And by the way, there wasn't a lot of students on campus to begin with because of the pandemic. What are some of the emotions that you felt when you saw that groundswell of support for that team?
I thought to myself, this is what we can be. This is what we are. This is what we talk about every day. And to do it with that group of young men, and for them to have that homecoming when they got back to campus really, really powerful for them and for our students. I said it on Twitter at the time, athletics is the front porch of this institution. And we are a great marketing vehicle. We are a great branding vehicle. And we want to have a high levels of success. We won't stop. We won't rest until we do. Our student athletes are doing it in the classroom. They're doing it in the community. And so much of what we do competitively rests on us continuing to push this thing forward. And so proud of our efforts, and we've got a long way to go. We won't rest. And I say this too all the time, like I've never met a colleague, an AD colleague, that thinks they have enough money. Like even Chris Del Conte at Texas, even Joe Castiglione in Oklahoma, they're like, yeah, just trying to figure out how to make the next buck. I'm like, man, you got a $180 million budget. I'd love to have that. But you know what? We are what we are, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. We have phenomenal student athletes, great coaches and support staff. We do things the right way at this institution. You're at a top 25 public research institution. You can be great here and anything you want to invest in.
It's been a pleasure to be associated with it. And, you know, we have another day, by the way, of UMass Gives, umassathletics.com/give. Any parting thoughts or final words? Who do the Patriots take in the draft tonight?
Well, I think, you know, in typical Bill Belichick fashion, they're going to probably trade down. They're going to see you're going to see what the quarterbacks do in the first couple picks, and I think maybe trade out. But I just want to say thank you to you, Jay. I mean, you talked about telling that story and people coming up to you and saying, I didn't know about this. You're a great storyteller for us. It's great to have you here. I really appreciate your efforts and the way that you celebrate our success and tell the story of our student athletes. We need to do more of that. You're a great storyteller. I appreciate your efforts as well.
Wait till I tell everybody how I ended up in Pittsburgh for the national championship game. That's a story for another day. umassathletic.com/give. Big thanks to everybody for joining us throughout. Scott Witterowski, Nick McGann back in the control room, putting in extra work as always. Ryan Boudway, Alan Pandiandi, our entire development crew, Dave Biancamana, Matt Hood, our athletic staff, everybody really going to bat here as we get the spring semester to a finish, and hopefully we'll get to our 2,500 individual donors by the end of tomorrow. Big thanks to a night and evening with Mr. Ryan Bamford. Until next time, from the Marty Jacobson Football Performance Center, my name's Jay Burnham saying, so long, everybody.